police apprehend a man who said Igbos should be flushed out of Yoruba land. Nigeria as a nation is supposed to be a very conducive place for all the tribes in it to thrive and develop. However, the 2023 presidential election brought tribalism into the country. Well, it didn't bring it. It just, what's the word? Amplified it to a different level. Which is not and will never be a healthy development for a growing country like Nigeria. Just a few minutes ago, the Public Relations Officer, PRO Prince Oluomo Adejobi, took to his official Twitter handle to reveal that the Osun State Police Command has arrested a man who said all Igbos should be flushed out in Lagos. The announcement was made after a huge number of Twitter users called the police's attention to a tweet made by one Mr. Kende Adeshoga. Kende tweeted that he had hated Igbos so much because to him they do not like the Yorubas also. He urged in his write-up that all Yorubas either kill or flush them out of the Yoruba land. After a few weeks of searching for his identity, the Osun State Police have reportedly arrested him for violating social media policies. More updates are yet to come on how the police will handle the case. Okay, fine, great. But why can't we hold politicians in higher positions to the same level? Because, to be honest, not that tribalism did not exist within the people. We know ourselves that we have problem. Understood? But when you have, when you have people in political positions, people who have gained political relevance over the years, whether they were former governors or former this or former ministers, who are still as active, they might not necessarily have a positioning in government at the time, but they have enough relevance that whatever they say will be taken seriously and would catch wave. These people have been employed and strategically used by political parties, in the stage of what's it called? In the campaign stage, my dears. In the campaign stage to just and you obviously use social media as a tool as well, but we also need to hold people accountable in powers who would use religious statements and incite and strategically just provoke, right? Because it's not like as if at the end of the day they're using strategies that they know would work with Nigerian people, and it clearly works. And apart from that, and holding people in political and high positions accountable, it also goes to show the hate that actually exists, towards Igbos. Because, let's be honest, it's not like Nigerians are, to a large extent, conversant with their history. And I'm not even trying to take a dig at Nigerians, but to a very large extent, when we talk about general knowledge of our history and the interactions between Igbos and Yorubas and whatever, because some people try to use historical events to justify the hate, which is never, I'm not condoning that. But in this case, this guy's hate for Igbos and the way he's expressed it has come from his interactions with Igbos because of what Igbos have done to him. And to be honest, that is how a lot of people would form their opinions and their opinions and hate towards one another. But because they're programmed and they don't see how they've been influenced and how they've been conditioned to express these hates, and how people in powerful positions also reinforce the hate that the normal average citizen would have, they don't realize how expressing that doesn't necessarily come from themselves, but has come from external things that they don't know is controlling them. And I think that's where the real problem lies. And so when I compare it and say, okay, it's a different thing if, not that it's justified, but Nigerians or some people that have hate towards Igbos will talk from historical context. Most people tend to use a personal experience with a tribe and then use that as the basis for how they interact with people from that tribe. And it's very, very sad. But I think this also highlights that there are a lot of people who Okay, fine, you can have high biases, unconscious biases, and say, disrespectful things about um Igbos, but to the extent where you use words like kill and flush them out. And you know what? You actually tend to see people's real colors, because these elections really showed those people who fought like that. You see, with people who think a certain way and I guess are scared to express it, it just takes someone they see of value to align with that, to give them the confidence to express it. And if you look at how the elections have gone, if you look at the tensions in Lagos State on its own, because again, a lot of people who have sense, who understand that there are actual, there's unspoken codes on how to interact with people and just be respectful generally. And so when you have, let's say, a governor or a spokesperson or someone who is regarded in the political scene as one of value makes certain comments, of course it would give confidence to people who think like that, who have such hate, to express it even more. And it's such a shame, because it's like the hate is just unfounded. I don't even understand it at this point. I just don't understand it. And I think psychologically it just needs to be examined with some kind of a thing. Maybe the frustration of Nigeria in itself is also a part of how the people express their hate. The heat as well. There are different factors maybe that we need to consider, because I just think that, and it also shows the level of education that we have. Education not in terms of going to school, but in our thinking. Our thinking is just so behind. It's crazy. It's so crazy. It's like, what does it take for you to think, okay, fine, this person who happens to be from this tribe has really upset me or has betrayed me, Yes, but what kind of intelligence do you need to understand that you cannot treat everybody the same because of that one experience? It just goes to show the level of thinking that a lot of people have, and how in our thinking we haven't really progressed as a people. And it's very sad, because we talk about how we regress as a nation economically, blah blah blah, but as a society, it just gets worse, because our lack of education, lack of exposure, and just lack of interaction with the global, with the world on a global scale. It's embarrassing, and there is indeed a lot of work we need to do, especially when it comes to our thinking. Because really, if the people progress in their thinking, we wouldn't have things like this. And the most effective pioneers of thinking, and influences will be people in society that are regarded as important. And it even goes to pastors, it goes to politicians, because we have to look at valuable people within our context, right? You have to think of this, because you have pastors who would even say comments and you're like, oh my God, why? And I think that's what we should look at in terms of trying to curb hate at the grassroots level. Put what you think in the comment section below, and don't forget to like and subscribe.